What's good, IE Sports Radio fans? It's your boy, the SoCal Saint, back at it again with another fresh episode of your favorite professional wrestling podcast out there today. That is your direct feed for all that is professional wrestling on the only network that is your direct feed for all that is sports, IE Sports Radio. We bring to you the IE Wrestling Show. How is everyone doing today on this beautiful Wednesday morning, depending on what side of the equator you're on? Or Wednesday afternoon, depending on where you are here in the United States or the world. If you're watching live, we are worldwide live currently right now on my personal Facebook account and on the X and YouTube official pages for IE Sports Radio. Please follow IE Sports Radio, guys, on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Those are all of our official social media platforms. We are live right now on YouTube. That's right. We are live currently streaming on YouTube as well as live streaming on X and on my personal Facebook page, which is under my government name, Martin Sandoval. Welcome, guys. It is an awesome day. We are going to be having a very, very special episode of the IE Wrestling Show today, because it so matter-of-factly happened to land on the birthday of a legend, guys, an absolute legend, my favorite wrestler of all time, Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero, Viva la Raza! You can see right here, I got the championship title that I always have with me live is a championship title that is in remembrance of Eddie Guerrero. You see his name right there on the nameplate. This is a tribute championship to the late, great Eddie Guerrero. It is the same championship belt minus the strap, because the strap was black when he held it. But this is the exact championship title that Eddie Guerrero held back in the spring of 2004 when he defeated Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship at No Way Out 2004. Speaking of that, here is the official DVD of that pay-per-view right here. I still have that. Yes, kids, DVDs were a thing back in the day, just to make me feel super fucking old about that. And I'm not going to be doing this alone. I'm going to be joined here in a little while by a good buddy of mine from back home in Cali. One of my best friends, a brother. You know, me and him have been through a lot. My buddy Brent Jackson, he's going to be joining me here in a little bit. I'll introduce him here shortly. But before we get to that, let's get through all the spiels and the schmozzing of all of our nice official sponsors. If you are following IE Sports Radio, don't forget that IE Sports Radio is available on all of these official podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music / Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and Geo7. Also, don't forget to go to the official IE Sports Radio website. That's iesportsradio.com. iesportsradio.com. You can actually join for free. You can create an account where you can interact with all the hosts of all of our awesome IE Sports Radio programs, including myself, the host of the IE Wrestling Show. I have an official page that you can actually go and venture onto at iesportsradio.com / the IE Wrestling Show, where if you are just now becoming a fan of my show and you want to catch up on some of the past episodes that I have made, you can actually check them out right there on my official IE Sports Radio website page. And if you like what we do here at IE Sports Radio and you want to throw some shekels our way, please do yourself a favor and go to the IE Sports Radio shop. That's iesportsradio.com / shop, where you can order yourself some official IE Sports Radio merchandise. That's right. The IE Sports Radio official logo t-shirt is available on our website, as well as hats. We got tank tops, and we got women's tees as well for your girls and wives and little girls, whatever. You can get little shirts for your sons, big shirts for your sons, depending on how big they are, hats. Hopefully during the winter time, we'll get some hoodies available for sale as well. But that helps keep the lights on here for us at IE Sports Radio. And don't forget what else keeps the lights on here for IE Sports Radio is our official sponsors like Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Ooh, yeah. Planet Jerky has some delicious premium brisket beef jerky. I've tried it myself. I've said this week in and week out that my favorite flavor is the volcanic jalapeno. If you haven't tried it, do yourself a favor and check it out. go to their official Instagram page at Planet Jerky. You can follow them on Instagram, and you can order directly from their official website at planetjerky.net. Go to planetjerky.net, where they have a lot of assortment of flavors, and you can order it, and they have fast delivery. It's delicious. It's great. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. And another sponsor of ours is from Mrs. Larry B. herself, co-host of the Sports Couple Perspective with Larry B., Cecilia B. She has a nice little business that keeps our lights on as well, called Seal the Deal Wax Seals. If you need something to, add that nice little bit of, je ne sais quoi, or what, you want to add that nice little fancy touch to an envelope, to an invitation, to like a quinceañera, to a wedding invitation, to a graduation party, to a birthday party, to a baby shower, whatever the special occasion is, you want to add a little bit of something to that envelope, go to Seal the Deal Wax Seals and check out her official merchandise that is for sale. She has an Instagram page, Seal the Deal _Wax Seals, and you can actually order directly from the iSports Radio official website at isportsradio.com/Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And that will do it for you. And before we take a little break here and hear from our official sponsors, because don't just take my word for it, I want you guys to please do me a favor. I'm doing this once again. I'm still in the running, guys. I got 2 days left. I got today and just until tomorrow evening at 10 p.m. my time here, Central Standard Time. Go to faceofhorror.org/2024/Martin-Sandoval. And please vote for me. If you have a Facebook account, for some reason you have to have a Facebook account to do this. If you have a Facebook account, please go to this website and vote for me. I got 2 days left, and well, basically like a day and a half, really. And I'm currently sitting in second place. I was in first place up until just like earlier this morning, like around 1 a.m. But that's okay. I'm not trying to get worried. I know I've been there before, and I've bounced back before, and I know I'll do it again with all your guys' help. Please, if you have an official Facebook page, click the link right there and vote for me, please. If you got any extra shekels, I know times are hard. I know people are struggling. Trust me, I'm struggling as well. But if you got, $10 that you can spare, it goes to a good cause, because it's also a fundraising contest where they're raising funds for a children's cancer research foundation called Searchlight or Starlight. I think it's Starlight. Excuse me, Starlight Foundation, where they raise money for pediatric cancer research. And the minimum amount that you can donate is $10. For every dollar that you do spend, though, it gets me a vote. So $1 equals 1 vote. So $10 equals 10 votes, and so on and so forth. So but you can also vote for free. You don't have to donate. It's just an option. So I'm just putting it out there. They have an option for 1 free vote. So if you can just click that link right there and just give me a free vote of yours, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. So, hashtag Sandoval 2024, vote for me. Yes. And we'll be right back, guys. We're going to hear from our official sponsors, and then we'll be right back here in just a moment, where we're going to jump into the show. We're going to talk a little bit about Bad Blood from this past weekend, and then we're going to get right into the career retrospective of the life of the late, great Eddie Guerrero. Stay tuned, guys. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, IE Sports Radio fans? We are back here with the IE Wrestling Show, your direct feed for all that is professional wrestling on the only network that is your direct feed for all that is sports, IE Sports Radio. So, yes, right now, let's just jump right in. I'm going to introduce y'all to my boy. He is a longtime friend of mine. Shit, man, we're family, really, is the only way I can really describe it. He is a good friend of mine, one of my best friends from high school and beyond. After all these years, we still are like this, you know. That's how close we are. Let me introduce you to my boy coming in. Follow him on his Instagram at B24Jackson. That's B24Jackson is his Instagram handle. This is my buddy, my friend, Brent Jackson. What's good, brother? What is going on, man?
What up, man? Yes, we're still Marks, right?
Man. That's right. I'm so glad to finally get you on a podcast. Yeah. We've been talking about this for a very long time, man. I'm so glad you're finally able to join me here today, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, bro.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. And what a special episode for you to join me on, with it being one of our all-time favorite wrestlers. I mean, I hope I'm not speaking for you by saying that, because for sure he's my favorite wrestler of all time. It's just a sentimental thing with me with him. But I mean, what a coincidence that today's episode falls on his birthday. You know what I mean? What would have been his 57th birthday, the late, great Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero.
Hell yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Definitely in my top 5, I'll say, of all time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so hard, to really narrow it down to favorites, because wrestling,
right?
I always comment wrestling is like music or comedy. It's very subjective. Everybody has their own opinions, their own flavors. You know what I mean? Someone's favorite, is not necessarily, someone else's favorite. I know guys that will swear up and down that, this is probably a poor example, but will swear up and down that Goldberg is the end all be all. And then you got guys that'll be like, are you fucking nuts? Goldberg
Yeah,
is
it's Ultimate Warrior. Yeah, it's Ultimate Warrior, dude. Of course. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I feel like amongst wrestling fans, I mean, like really true, like passionate, longtime wrestling fans,
Uh,
you can't say a bad thing about Eddie Guerrero. I haven't heard one negative thing about Eddie Guerrero in all my years of watching wrestling. Like, when you come across other wrestling fans and then you bring up Eddie Guerrero, and I mean, for me, living where I live now, like here in Fort Worth, here in Texas, like when you bring up the Guerreros, that creates a reaction. Like people automatically like, oh man, Eddie Guerrero was my from all types of people, white, black, Mexican, Asian, anybody I run into. You talk about Eddie Guerrero here, it's like he's like the end all be all. If it's not the Von Erichs, it's the Guerreros. You know what I mean?
I feel you, brother. He's definitely one of the guys that could have took off to the moon, and I mean, I think what he did already was great while we had him on Earth. But I feel like he did pass away in his prime. But what he accomplished in that time, it definitely. I think guys like us, we resonate with him because guys like him aren't supposed to make it to the top and ain't supposed to be the champion. And
Yep.
when you see stuff like that, it's just it moves you. You resonate with it. You're like, damn, like you felt that. You know what I'm saying? So most definitely, Eddie Guerrero is one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion. Top 5.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, before we jump into talking about Eddie, I know me and you were talking a little bit before we jumped on the air. Bad Blood was this past weekend. Was this past
Saturday on my birthday, dude.
That's right. Yeah, it happened on your birthday. What an awesome birthday present for you, brother.
Yeah, bro.
Belated birthday, man.
I got to watch the UFC, and then I got to watch Bad Blood right after, and great show overall. Just every match was pretty damn good, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I can't say a bad thing about Bad Blood. I thought it was very entertaining from start to finish. Especially the hot start that it was. Like I didn't think the Hell in a Cell match was going to be the opening contest because I really thought with the amount of storyline and everything that's been going on for the last 10 months between Drew and Punk, I really thought that should have been the way to close out the show. But I mean, it didn't hurt the show overall being the opening contest. If anything, it got everybody off to a fucking awesome start. Like, and the crowd was just eating it up from beginning to end, man. And that, I gotta say, man, I gotta say, Punk and Drew, their Hell in a Cell match was the best of their 3 matches, but it also was one of the best Hell in a Cell matches in a very, very long time, man.
Oh yeah, and like you said, you thought it was going to be the main event because of the rivalry, because of how long it built up. I thought so too, but then I thought about it and I was like, you got Cody and Roman on the same team. Roman's first match since Mania, and you got him against the Bloodline, and it's like, I don't know. I think the star power kind of took over on that one, but I do think that Punk and Drew should have been the opener or the closer. But either way, I thought it was the best match on the card overall.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The Hell in a Cell match was the best match the whole night. I mean, these little, I know people complain about these little like WWE cards because since Triple H has taken over, he's really condensed like the product in a way. Like the bigger cards are for the bigger shows, like your WrestleManias, your SummerSlams, your Royal Rumbles, your
big 4
series, like the big 4. Yeah. Like, and that's how I feel like it should be. These smaller premium live events or whatever you want to call them, pay-per-views when we were growing up. Like I like it actually. Like I feel like less is more, you know what I mean? Like in terms of like quality, it's quality over quantity. You know what I mean? More matches doesn't necessarily mean a better show. You know what I mean? And I feel like having these like 5 to 6 match cards is really awesome because it gives the wrestlers enough time for these matches. You're not getting these like 1 or 2 minute whatever, kind of matches. You know what I mean? Everybody seems to be getting enough time to tell a proper story in the ring. You know what I mean? And each match seems to be given a decent amount of time. And that helps with it being a smaller card. You know what I mean? That's one of my biggest gripes with AEW that I talk about here on the show. I don't know if you listened to any of my previous episodes, but like I know I always talk about how Tony Khan has a habit of like overbooking his shows. You know what I mean? Having like 14, 15 matched cards. The crowd is dead by the main event. You know what I mean? It's just it doesn't make any sense. You don't need to have an over. I know he's such a huge wrestling fan or whatever, but like I said, less is more, man. Like you don't need to please an audience. You don't need to oversaturate the product before the main event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think when they're overseas or they're in France or they're in different countries, I think that's when we see those cards that have 5 matches, 6. You don't have squash matches or enhancement matches. You don't have fillers and things like that. And what you're saying, like AEW, it's like you could tell that guy just wants to be cool with the boys. But I think he needs to separate the business from the friendships or whatever, because even when he's out there on the panel after the show, like, why are you out there, bro? You like give the guys their time. You don't got to be out there for every single post conference. I don't know. I just think he's a mark, dude. I think MJF was right about him.
He's a money mark, dude.
I mean, we're all marks. But like he's like, he's a mega mark, dude. But Bad Blood. Back to Bad Blood. I thought it was cool. The entrances for Cody was badass. This guy knows I'm not a big Cody Rhodes guy. I do respect the family name. I do respect the way that he does his thing in the ring. I do respect, like I said, his family legacy. Do I think he should be the guy? No, but that's just my opinion. Like, I've already seen Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock, Cena, and this guy just doesn't even touch him, in my opinion. But that's the way they're going, and that's up to them. But I will say his entrance was pretty badass at Bad Blood, and then Roman's entrance was pretty cool too, man. Those guys are the 2 top guys right now for sure.
Oh, for sure, man. Like, going back real quick to Punk and Drew, did you notice like the subtle hints, the nice little throwback that Punk had in his gear? Did you notice his wrestling gear that night?
I did not, but I didn't. Go ahead. Oh. No, I did notice his gear at SummerSlam. It was from SummerSlam '97 for Brett and Sean. I didn't notice this one though. What was it?
So if you go back and watch the very first Bad Blood with the very first Hell in a Cell match, Taker and Sean's gear is a silver and black color, and that's what Punk's gear was. But if you look at Punk's gear, it just so discreetly, I didn't even notice this watching the match until someone pointed it out on like X. Punk's gear, you know how he usually has like the 4 stars on his trunks? He only had 3 stars and 1 heart, like a silver heart for Shawn Michaels. He had the same color scheme. Yeah, and then he had a nice heart thrown in there to pay homage to Shawn Michaels for the very first Hell in a Cell match. And I feel like his match with Drew lived up to that, lived up to the Taker Shawn match, the very first one. I mean, like last week when I was on the show, I was going over my favorite Hell in a Cell matches of all time, and Shawn and Taker was number 2 for me. I put Foley and Taker at number 1 because it's like,
of course,
you had. It's like you have to put that, not necessarily as far as like wrestling ability and quality. It was just that was the match that put the Hell in a Cell on the map. It was like when people say Hell in a Cell, even if you're just a casual fan, that's the first thing you think about is Foley getting thrown off the top of that thing. You know what I mean? But people forget how great the very first one was with Shawn and Taker. And Shawn took some crazy bumps in that match as well. Like people forget Shawn fell from the side of the cage. Like he didn't fall from necessarily the top, but him and Taker were climbing up the side of it. And Shawn took a nasty table bump from the side of that. Like people forget that. And then
that was a big deal. And that was a big deal at the time in '97, dude. I mean, I was 8 years old and watching that. I remember my grandfather ordered it for me because that Bad Blood, ironically, was on my birthday as well. And
nice.
I was really pissed when I was really pissed when Taker lost, but that's a different story. But
Right.
the storytelling in that match was good, and then obviously that's got to be Kane.
Yeah,
that,
the debut of Kane, like a lot of things came from that, from that
right.
one match, So, and then with it being like 27 years later to the day of the very first event and the very first Hell in a Cell, it just it kind of all fell into place, and you got to give not just Punk but give Drew his flowers too. Like they've put on a hell of a match, man. These guys didn't pull any punches. They really told a story that we've been following for months and months and months, and it's so crazy how like they turned an actual accidental injury into such a hot angle. Definitely. I mean, it may be a little. No, I'm not even going to say that. It's not too early to say. It's October. This year is almost over. I got to say, Punk and Drew is the feud of the year. I mean, I can't think of another one.
I agree. I agree.
Have had the hottest angle. People, in particular, certain AEW fans and some other, whatever anti-WWE marks wanted to talk shit about Punk, saying that he's washed, that he doesn't belong, that he's injury prone, that he's this, that he's that. And I think in every match he's had with Drew, he's proved all those guys wrong with the quality of those matches. His match at SummerSlam with him was great. The strap match at Bash was fantastic. And then this one was just the fucking icing on the cake. You know what I mean?
And you got to think, dude, like they didn't even touch each other for months before the first match. So the dub for that's some old school shit right there, dude. That's like Savage and Hogan, that's like the buildup was just badass. And then I don't know, were you marking out when you thought it was the thumbtacks, but it was the beads?
Yeah.
I was marking out, dude.
Yeah, I thought for a second there was going to be some thumbtacks. I was like, oh shit, man, like they're really going all in. And then Drew was bleeding like crazy. Did you see the staple job he had after the match? Man, that was a
I heard that wasn't that wasn't supposed to. That wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard. I guess it was just in the moment. I mean, things happen, dude. It's wrestling. It's not fucking ballet,
But if it was AEW, they'd all be saying this is awesome, right? So
yeah, exactly. It's okay. It's okay for Swerve to get a fucking syringe in his mouth, but oh man, fucking Punk is unsafe because he hit Drew with a fucking toolbox.
Those guys over there in the Indies, dude, I tell you.
Yeah. All right, those outlaw mud shows, man. Fucking Jim Cornette spinning in his fucking house in fucking Kentucky, man.
Jim Cornette's my boy, dude. I'm a big Jim Cornette mark, dude.
I love Cornette, man. People can talk shit about Cornette all they want. I don't give a fuck. I love Cornette. People get mad at Cornette because half the shit he says is true. Like, you know what I mean?
I gotta say, like, I gotta agree with like 75% of it, actually, dude. Like, just pure, like, going off of a wrestling mind. Mm-hmm. Jim Cornette, he knows what's up, bro. He's one of the masterminds of it too.
Oh,
just like your boy Paul Heyman.
That's right. Cornette and Paul Heyman are two guys that are vastly different in terms of like I'm sure of like certain ways that they would produce a wrestling show, obviously, because Paul being from where he came from in ECW and Jim being more traditional NWA, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, that type of style. But at the end of the day, they're both passionate wrestling fans that somehow got a foothold in this business, and they haven't stopped being a passionate wrestling fan. And just for an example, like I'll say this. I know this is going off topic here for a second, but the other day I saw some shit that it was just so ignorant I couldn't even comment on it because it would just make no sense to even bother arguing with this idiot. But Vince Russo, yeah, that fucking idiot. He had the nerve to talk about Jey Uso's Intercontinental Championship win and how he didn't understand why Jey was emotional about winning the title. And his reasoning was that it's a prop, bro. It's a television show. Wrestling's not real, bro. Like, why are you crying over a prop, bro? And you could just that just automatically like solidified my opinion that I already had of him, but it just makes everything that Jim Cornette's been saying about this fucking idiot for 20 years validated. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you don't fucking get it, dude. You don't fucking get it. You're not a fan. You never have been. You never will be. You don't fucking get it. You don't get what it is. You know what I mean?
And I think, what's that fool's name that we were just talking about?
What, Vince Russo?
Yeah, Vince Russo. Sorry. He's just like us, bro. He's never laced up a pair of boots. He might have been in the business, but like for him not to understand why Jey Uso was emotional, well, even though I don't think, to me, my opinion, I don't have nothing against Jey Uso. I think he's overrated, but I think that it's okay because, he's on fire right now, and that's what wrestling's about. It's like he's got the fans in the palm of his hands, his entrance, his music. He's changing his whole look. He's, got to go for it. He's been his ass off for 14 years, and he finally got a singles title. So all that 14 years, if you get emotional after that because you won a singles title, because let's face it, dude, nobody ever thought the Usos were going to be anything. I mean, until the Bloodline, you didn't really even know the difference between the two, really. But
that's true. I mean, that's true. I mean, it's sad to say, but I mean, it's not wrong,
No, but Jey Uso's doing his thing, and I'm glad Jimmy's back too. He came back at Bad Blood in the main event. That looks like it's going to set up.
I marked out for that. I got nice. That shirt in my cart. So as soon as I get paid on Friday, I'm ordering that shirt. They ain't the ones. That's a dope ass shirt. Hell yeah, I got to get that one. Yeah. I got an OTC shirt, man.
You know what I got to get, dude? I got to get one of the Final Boss's vests, dude. That's what I got to get, bro. Yeah. That's what I marked out. I didn't think he was going to come out, and that was pretty cool. I was happy to see it.
I had a feeling when I heard that the tag match was going to main event. I was like, okay, something big is happening, and then I don't know if you watched Pat McAfee's podcast. Cody was on there this week or last week, leading up to.
I saw a little hint or something like that was thrown out there.
The show was over, and Cody was like was saying bye to Pat, and he said the big guy's coming back or something like that. He said, and Pat was like,
which one?
Like, big guy, which one? He's like, and Cody kind of just looked at him, and he was just like, okay, you told me everything I need to know without actually saying it. Kind of, you know what I mean? Like, and then
I thought they were talking about Ryback, dude, but I don't know.
Ryback, that fucking goof.
The big guy, dude. Well, when you say the big guy,
you're gonna tell me that you did that on purpose, or that you're dumb as fuck. I'm dumb as fuck.
I'm dumb as fuck. Yeah. Oh gosh, dude.
That guy's a goof. Whatever.
I heard he still wants a match with Goldberg, but good luck with that kid. But
bro, why? Bro. So he can break his neck too, or whatever. Fucking twist his pelvis.
He's dumb as fuck, dude.
Yeah. Oh man.
So what's up, man? You want to get into this Eddie Guerrero business?
Yeah, man. Let's get into Eddie, man. But just real quick, before we comment on Eddie, just the main event. What'd you think of the tag match with Cody and Roman and Solo and Jacob?
Man, best tag match since Mania, dude. Since night one Mania. I mean, as far as like stature and like star power and like. The crowd was not bored. The crowd was into it the whole time.
Oh yeah,
a lot of good spots. Everyone knows that Roman's not the best wrestler, but I think Roman's like he's just an attraction now, and just having him there, and he's kind of like he's not Hogan, but he's kind of like the new Hogan. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know, but
no, it makes sense. I mean, like he's the franchise,
right?
I would say, I mean,
I thought the match was cool. Like the Jimmy Uso thing was awesome. The Rock thing coming back.
That was cool. I was expecting Jimmy. Yeah. I was not expecting. I was sort of expecting Rock, but I was definitely expecting at least Jimmy to show up. If not Jimmy, I was thinking maybe Paul would come back. Like Wiseman. Maybe
I think Wiseman's in it. I think they're gonna save him for War Games, bro.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I can see in my mind. This is how I see it. This is how I see it happening, man. Like, let me paint a picture for you, bro. I'm about to paint a picture. What I feel like is going to happen is in the next coming weeks, we're going to see Jimmy and Roman going at it with the bloodline, and they're outnumbered, right? Because it's 4-2 now, and Jimmy is going to try to get Roman to realize that we have to right the wrongs of the past. It's like, you got to do right by the family, bro. You got to go talk to Jay. You got to go talk to Jay. And then he's going to say, you got to get Sammy back, bro. You got to get the honorary use back. And we got to do this old school style. We got to do this OG bloodline style, real bloodline, and Roman's going to be hesitant because Roman's not really a face per se in the fact that he's like, kissing babies and fucking, clapping hands and shit like that. He's still the same guy he was. It's just that the fans have a greater respect for him now. And I mean, Roman's even told you that with his return promo when he finally spoke on SmackDown a few weeks back. So I feel like Roman's going to be like too proud to apologize. You know what I mean? Like, he knows he did wrong, but he's like, I can't, you know what I mean? And Jimmy's going to be doing the talking. And I can see Jimmy going to Raw, talking to trying to plead the case to his brother and to Sammy, and Sammy and Jay are going to be like, you got a lot of fucking nerve after all the shit that we've been through. You expect us to forget all that and help y'all, like, kick rocks, And I feel like, but that gesture itself is going to prove to be the starting point, the catalyst. And then the wise man is somehow going to be the one to facilitate the bringing them back together. We're going to see like some sort of beatdown again on SmackDown. And then you're going to hear, ooh, so, and here comes Sammy and Jay to save the day. And then we're going to have a 4-way embrace of all of them. And Paul's going to come out. He's going to be in tears because Paul loves to cry. And he's going to look at Solo and the Tongas and Jacob. And he's like, you guys want to go to war? You want a war? Well, we'll see you in Vancouver. Survivor Series. War Games. And that's how it's going to go, I think. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be just thinking out of my ass, but I just feel it being some sort of huge epic moment like that where we're going to see them all come back together for this. And I don't want to see anybody else involved in this match. It's got to be the 4-on-4. Like, I keep seeing images of Rock thrown in there. It's like, Rock does not need to be in the War Games match. Rock can show up and cost them the match, which I feel like is going to happen.
That's going to happen, yes.
Rock is going to cost them the match. Rock's going to make it seem like he's going to keep it confusing, like how Bad Blood ended. Like, Roman looked like, okay, like, I don't know what he meant by that. That's how it's going to be until he finally lets it happen. And then when Rock explains why he did what he did, that's going to be fucking nuts, dude. Can you just imagine? Like, oh, man, I could just see The Rock now. Like, at WrestleMania, it was all laid out for you. You were going to win. You were the tribal chief. I was on your side. But you had to lose. You had to lose. You had to
let the family down.
That's right. You had to let the family down. The
final boss has got to pick up all the pieces.
Right?
Yeah.
The Rock did his part.
I can see it, bro.
Man, like, that's what it's going to be,
And he's going to probably say something like, and now you want to be Cody's bitch? You know what I'm saying? He can say all kinds of shit, bro.
Oh, man. Can you imagine? It's like, now you want to be friends, your buddy? You and the Cody crybabies?
Yeah. The final boss doesn't play that shit. Right. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, hell yeah. So I was thinking same thing as you, what you just said. The only thing I was thinking, once they get, Roman, Jimmy, and Jay, they're gonna be like, well, they should be in the back, and they should be like, well, damn, that's only 3 of us still, and they're all gonna look, all 3 of them, and then the camera's gonna shoot, and it's gonna be Sami Zayn right there, and the crowd's gonna blow
Oh,
up. I think that's how they should bring him in, but I don't know. You know, we'll see. But good shit, man. You pretty much wrote the damn script right there.
Yeah, I hope so, man. But
Sports entertainment, guys.
Sports entertainment, brothers.
It's fake. It's fake, dude. Why do you still watch it? It's fake. Shut the fuck up.
I know, right? Shut up, bitch.
How about that?
Smoke some crack.
Go smoke some more crack. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about, dude. You gonna go to Mania, dude? I'm gonna be going to Mania this year.
All right, man. I would really love to, man, but I don't think I'm
not missing that, bro.
Oh,
I am not missing that.
Yeah, that's
you gotta think. It's probably gonna be The Rock's last one. It's gonna be Cena's last one. It's probably. I heard Stone Cold might show up. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna be Cena's last one because he already said that. So fuck.
I was thinking they could do I was thinking they could do something with Taker, like something with Godfather comes out with the hose, and then they just start they start jumping the Godfather, and then Undertaker comes out on the motorcycle and saves his boy. You know, since everybody knows they're boys now.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, man.
Oh man, that reminds me of that old clip from the Attitude Era when Godfather tried to pawn off some hose on the.
I know you love hose.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah. You can see Taker like this. He was like,
try not to break.
Yeah. Oh man. The one where JBL was the one with JBL almost broke him. That was a pretty good one on the SmackDown when he was talking about you take your family, you go camping, you go do this, and Taker's just like Taker's like fuck, dude. Yeah, that was I don't know. Undertaker's the man, bro.
Yeah, he's still the man, dude. Oh man.
Is it true that Undertaker's the one that kind of told Vince, hey, we should put the title on Eddie? Rock's leaving, and like Eddie has a good fan base, and I've heard that before. I talked to a couple of my boys.
I could see that just because,
like,
if anybody's opinion that would matter to Vince would be Taker's. You know what I mean? But I feel like Vince probably already had it in his like head that he was going to do that because Eddie was definitely at that time he was definitely the most
on fire
on the roster. Yeah, he really was. I mean, so yeah, let's just jump right in, man. Eddie Guerrero, man. October 9th is his birthday. Today is his birthday. He would have been 57 years old had Eddie still been with us here on Earth. Man, it's still crazy to me that Eddie's not here with us as much as people still talk about him and love his matches, and you still see a lot of Eddie, his influence on the wrestling business to this day. Like people still do the cheating spots where they hit the chair on the mat and throw it to somebody, or you see it in Dirty Dom with his mannerisms, his mullet, even. Dude,
that mullet's sick, dude.
Bro, like Eddie Guerrero was definitely I hate using this term because I feel like it's overused, but he legit was a game changer. You know what I mean? The things that he did in this business, not just from just a entertainment standpoint, but just from an in-ring standpoint as well. He came from a wrestling family, the Guerreros, very famous wrestling family in the Mexican American community and throughout the wrestling community in general. But really, the fan, started in Mexico. His father, Eddie Guerrero, talked about his father many years ago on his documentary that they did for him during his championship reign. That his father went wanting to learn how to box and ended up finding a wrestling school, not a boxing class, and then that's how they got into the wrestling business. Gory Guerrero, very famous wrestling legend in Mexico. He had many matches with another famous wrestling legend in Mexico, El Santo. They were tag team partners and then became bitter rivals whenever Gory turned on El Santo. And Gory got the nickname Gory from, having very bloody matches. Like the majority of the time he was in the wrestling business. And then Eddie,
he was the John Moxley before John Moxley, or what?
I wouldn't say I would probably say Corey was probably better in ring
No,
than Moxley, but
hell, I'm better. Hell, I'm better than Moxley. I'm just saying,
yeah,
as far
him
as
leading.
blood though,
Yes.
yeah,
Um, and then Eddie is the youngest of the Guerrero wrestling clan. All his brothers were wrestlers: Hector, Chavo Senior, Mondo. Am I missing one? I think there's only three, right? And then Eddie. Um, and then Eddie, being as young as he was in the wrestling family, he grew up with his nephew when they were more like brothers. His nephew, of course, being Chavo Guerrero Jr. They were only 2 or 3 years apart in age, according to Chavo. So, I mean, yes, technically they are uncle and nephew, but they grew up like brothers since they were so close in
they're
age.
like, yeah, that's like Roman and the Usos. Roman's technically their uncles, but they're they call each other cousins. So
Right. Yeah. And Eddie got his start in wrestling in Mexico, where all the Guerreros got their start. And the Guerreros, man, they were all great. I mean, like you really can't, but you really can't just like just kind of you can't ignore his brothers because his brothers were very talented in the ring as well. But just Eddie was just such a standout. Like Eddie was definitely the standout of the family. He was definitely the most talented, the most successful of all the Guerreros because none of the Guerreros had ever won a world championship, not even his father, until Eddie won the WWE championship. Also becoming the first ever Chicano to win the WWE championship. So Eddie, I mean, like he was setting records, throughout his wrestling career. Eddie did his time throughout the world because at the time when Eddie broke into the business, it was here in the United States. It was a big man's wrestling world, pretty much. You had
right.
your Hogans, you had your Ultimate Warriors, you had your Savages. I mean, Savage was probably like the exception because he was one of the tinier big guys. But I mean, I guess his personality was so big. You know what I mean? The Andres and the Harley races and the things Vaders and it was the big
Sure.
man's game at the time. But Eddie made his name internationally in Mexico and in Japan, where he actually wrestled under a mask. He didn't wrestle as Eddie Guerrero in Japan. He wrestled as a tiger mask or black tiger. And there's actually there's really some great matches if you ever look up those matches from Japan between him and Pegasus Kid, aka Chris Benoit, and Chris Jericho from their time doing the junior heavyweight tournaments that they would have in New Japan. There's a very funny story that Eddie used to tell in interviews about how he met Chris Benoit. The first match that they had together, Eddie was knocked out, like legit knocked out in the ring when Chris Benoit clotheslined him. And that match, I've seen that match, and yeah, you could tell like there was something wrong because Eddie didn't react to getting stomped for a second because he was legit knocked out for a couple seconds. But they ended up having a really great match, all things considered. Even I think he met Dean Malenko in Japan. Eddie, one of his biggest first spots here in the United States was a pay-per-view that I was actually put on. I think it was produced by WCW, and it was broadcasted here in the United States. It was a CMLL pay-per-view called When Worlds Collide. And Eddie Guerrero was on that in a tag team match with his former tag team partner, another wrestler who died way too soon. That was actually really good in the ring. That he actually learned the frog splash from. Eddie Guerrero's very famous frog splash from his tag team partner. And they were, what were they called? Los Gringos. Los Locos or something like that.
Something like that.
And they were the heels in Mexico because they would come out draped in red, white, and blue. Eddie, and that was what made it even worse because Eddie being, Hispanic, he's going against like the Mexican fans and the Mexican culture he wouldn't speak in Spanish. Whenever he would cut promos, he was basically just whitewashing himself. That was like the gimmick.
Heel shit. Heel shit, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, Eddie was great then, you know what I mean, doing that, and Art Barr, I feel like, is what brought that personality, started to bring the personality out of Eddie, because Eddie was just simply just a wrestler, you know what I mean? But Art Barr was kind of showed Eddie that you got to be entertaining, not just great in the ring. And
Got
I
to be
feel
the
like,
total package.
you know, and when Art Barr passed away, very young, unfortunately, in the early 90s, Eddie, as a tribute to his former tag team partner and friend, he started using the frog splash as his finisher. And then Eddie, I think from there is when he moved on to ECW. Paul Heyman brought in Eddie Guerrero. He brought in Chris Benoit. He brought in Dean Malenko, Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Conan, and that was this was the thing that the ECW was doing at the time, just the counterculture and trying to be different from the other two, WCW and WWF at the time. And it really was, they stood out, and WCW started to take notice, and that's when WCW scooped them up, took Ray, Psychosis, Conan, took them all, and Eddie, to WCW. And Eddie, when he first got to WCW, Eddie had a really successful early run. I mean, Eddie was pushed as a pretty much a white meat babyface. He's coming out there and he's clapping hands and he's smiling, and he was very successful early on, winning the United States Championship. I think he even beat Ric Flair a couple times on WCW television, which, I mean, at that time, Rick was still the Nature Boy, he was still Ric Flair, and he wasn't really laying down for not that many people, but he laid down for Eddie, which was big for his career. And then during the whole beginning of the NWO, Eddie went into a feud with Syxx, aka X-Pac. And they had a ladder match, their very first ladder match, I think, in either one of their careers, for the United States Championship at NWO's pay-per-view, sold out at 97. And then I think Eddie somewhere down the line had gotten injured. And then when he came back as a heel. And that's when he would win the Cruiserweight Championship from Chris Jericho at that year's Fall Brawl. And then the very famous feud with Rey Mysterio began, and it led to their very legendary Halloween Havoc match in 97. And whenever those guys touched, man, those guys were fucking magic in the ring, man. I mean, no two wrestlers, I think, could ever have a bad match. Those guys are just, anytime they locked up, man, they told a fantastic story. You know what I mean? I can't think of any other two wrestlers that have had no bad matches. You know what I mean? Man, I mean, maybe Sean and Brett.
I was thinking, I was going to say that, or I was going to say Brett and Owen, or
yeah.
I mean, Sean and Razor.
Sean and Razor never really had any bad matches. Yeah, Brett and Sean.
Sean and a broomstick. Sean and the ladder. Sean and anything really.
Sean and anything really. Yeah, I mean, Brett and anything really too. I mean, Brett brought out the best in guys who couldn't fucking wrestle their way out of a paper bag. You know what I mean? Name a guy like Brett who could have 3 different style matches in the same night with 3 different style wrestlers. The year that he won the King of the Ring. You know what I mean?
That's what I was gonna say. Talking about King of the Ring now. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He had a match with Bam Bam was one of the guys he wrestled. Mr. Perfect. Razor. Yeah, Razor, Bam Bam, and Mr. Perfect were the 3 guys he wrestled, I believe. And those are all 3 different styles.
Dude, the Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect matches.
Oh yeah, exactly. Him and Mr. Perfect, man. They always had really, really great matches. I know. I even a couple months back, whenever I did the SummerSlam preview episode here on the show, I named him and Mr. Perfect as one of my top 10 SummerSlam matches of all time for the Intercontinental title. That is a fucking awesome match. And that finish, man, that finish is so fucking awesome. The way that Brett turned a leg drop into the sharpshooter, what? You know what I mean?
That was in the Garden, right?
That was in the Garden, yeah. That was the year. That was in the Garden, yeah. And Brett's parents were in the crowd to watch him win the title.
That SummerSlam was fucking sick, bro. That was a good one. That was a great one.
That was a great one. And then
you talking about Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart? Can you imagine if they would have wrestled Eddie, bro?
Oh man, that was the thing that was so. Oh man, I mean, just from a wrestling fan standpoint, what we missed out at the following year's WrestleMania had Eddie not passed away. The plan was what we found out all these years later. The plan was
Him and
for
Sean, right?
Sean. It was supposed to be Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 22. If Eddie Guerrero had not ultimately, tragically passed away the fall before WrestleMania. And can you imagine, man? They would have fucking blew the roof off of Chicago, man. That crowd in Chicago.
I think Eddie would have went over because he was just on fire at the time.
Oh yeah, Eddie definitely would have. I think so. I think Eddie definitely would have went over in that match. I mean, Sean was putting on some of the best. I don't know, man. That's a hard thing to think about. It's like, and I think you can put it in terms of Eddie too. It's like which matches were better, which version of Eddie Guerrero was better, just like which version of Sean was better. Like, like Eddie before he got clean, or Eddie after he got clean. Same with Sean. Sean was a very different person, a very different wrestler, still very talented. Pre-retirement and then post-retirement when he came back in 2002. You know what I mean?
I think Eddie after, because that's what helped him catapult him to the top and made him the superstar, and he turned his life around. But Sean, I like the stuff with Sean before, dude. But I will say the matches with Sean and Taker at Mania are probably my favorite matches of all time, dude. That first one especially.
That very first one, yeah, WrestleMania 25 is my favorite of all their matches that they've ever had against one another.
But Sean and Eddie, bro, that would have been...
man, that would have been so classic, dude. That would have been classic. That would have definitely rivaled his matches with Kurt, I think. Eddie's matches with Kurt. And even that probably would even rival Sean's matches with Kurt, you know what I mean? Because Sean and Kurt put on fucking magic, so I knew Eddie and him would do the same thing, if not better,
right.
But man, like Eddie did what he could, in WCW with what he was dealt with, because being a smaller guy in the company, that the way it was structured at that time, it was just all the big guys, the ex-WWE guys that were getting all the pushes, the Lugers, the Hogans, the Savages, the Halls, the Nashes, and, Sting being an old-timer there because he was already, like, integrated into the company. Like, I mean, like, nobody really broke through that barrier except Goldberg. But Goldberg was still a big guy type of wrestler, I mean, you had guys like Benoit and Eddie and Malenko and Booker T all trying to fucking claim a spot, that wasn't being presented to them at that time. Even Brett got lost in the shuffle because he was just another name. Like Brett, as talented as he was just another name in that company. He didn't stand out. They didn't push him as anything special, which was, a fucking detriment to him. And that wasn't fair to him. I mean, he was literally signed for his name alone and not pushed like he should have been. And Eddie Guerrero could have been so much more than what was given to him. I mean, and ultimately it led to him, Benoit, Saturn, and Dean Malenko finally just saying fuck it and quitting and leaving and going on to, greener pastures, WWF, and what a way to debut, sitting in the crowd of Monday Night Raw one day, and then just the crowd just going fucking absolutely nuts for all four of them. And I remember, man, I don't know how you felt at that time, but I remember watching that episode and just going like, I couldn't fucking believe that. Like those were four guys that I never ever would have expected to leave WCW like that. Like when you think about guys like jumping ship, because that happened a lot during those days, the Monday Night Wars, guys bouncing from company to company. I don't think I can honestly say that at that time, like, oh, I could see him going to WWF. Like that never crossed my mind, and then when it did, I was just like, what? Like, man.
So I think I was watching that. I was in 5th grade at the time. I remember I was like, who the hell are these four jabronis? I didn't know who they were. So I didn't watch WCW.
You didn't really watch WCW, right?
Nah, I always saw Sting, and I was like, I know that guy, and I know Hulk Hogan's a bad guy now over there. I just so loyal to the WWF that I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen, dude. But
I got you.
I wish I would have, but I remember they showed up and I was like, who are these four Rudy Poos? But lo and behold, look what they, you go back and you watch their matches and, you're a fan, right? You go back and, I look up some of the earlier stuff and even, Benoit and Eddie, like that moment with those two at Mania, like it's one of the best moments ever at any event ever as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, if I had to ask you, what would be, in no specific order, what would be some of your favorite Eddie matches? Because I have my list right here, but I don't know if you want to get into that or.
Yeah, we can jump right into that, man. But I was just gonna say, it was like I feel like Eddie Guerrero's. Before we get into that, just real quick, before Eddie Guerrero, before he came to WWF, like we got like little inklings of like what he could possibly do, like in terms of like character development and things like that. I really feel like the creative team at the time really brought the best out of Eddie. I mean, like he started the whole Latino Heat thing, and that got over huge. They paired him with China and the whole Mamacita, and like that was huge. Like that really put Eddie on the map. It gave China like a new lease on life.
That really showed you his personality, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And then I know he disappeared one day, which I didn't even realize at the time that. And I don't think any of us fans knew at the time that he was going through some issues and he had gotten let go by the company because he didn't go to rehab. We find this out all later, but Eddie doing the work and getting clean and turning his life around, becoming born again, having his faith in God. And he got rehired because the company was still looking at him, like making sure he was doing his thing, and getting better. And they saw that he was actually doing the work, and they presented him an opportunity, a second chance that a lot of guys don't get. And that second chance is what brought Eddie to probably the most fundamentally successful period of his career. Yeah, and
without a doubt,
from 2002 to 2005, that window was some of Eddie's best work. In wrestling, and it's just so unfortunate that his career was cut short so soon in his life. I mean, more so his life than his career. I mean, like careers could come and go, but life is so precious. It sucks, man. It still bums me out to this day, man, because excuse me. I don't want to get too personal, but I've talked about it here on the show. Like I lost my mother the same year that Eddie Guerrero passed away. I mean, you were there for me. I'll always love you for that, brother. I will always love you for that. That's why me and you are linked forever, man. We're brothers forever. And I know it goes without saying, I thank you for that, man. But and then when Eddie, passed away, I was just like, man, what the fuck, dude? You know what I mean? Like out of all the things, you know what I mean? Like, but it didn't turn me away from wrestling, losing who I felt was my favorite wrestler. You know what I mean? If anything, it just made me like more of a passionate fan and more appreciative of life.
And that's what it's about.
And wrestling, you know what I mean? Like that's what some people don't get. People like, how can you watch that? But I just tell them like
fuck off, dude.
Yeah, like you don't understand.
You watch. I tell them this. They're like, you watch that? I'm like, yeah, watch it. So what, bitch? And they're like, well, I'm like, you watch movies, right? You watch shows, right? They're all scripted, right? Okay, shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
But these guys can't do a retake. These guys can't do, all right, cut. They can't do that. It's all on the spot, So it's something there's nothing like it, and it's something that it's very unique. And the storytelling, the emotion, the moments, the pop when you hear someone's music. I mean, some people just don't get it, bro. And even I find it funny, like, like some people try to like, they're so down with it and then they're like, oh, I don't watch that anymore. Like, okay, who cares? Like I do. So it's just something that like my mom watched it. Her dad watched it. He used to take her to watch Hogan and Warrior.
Cool.
My grandfather's mom watched it, and so on and so forth. This thing came about, but yeah, brother. I mean, at the end of the day, bro, it's like if you're passionate about something, like if someone tries to put you down for liking something, dude, that just shows you who they are. Like it's like you're into comic books, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm barely starting to get into comic books, and before that, I was like, I'm not gonna make fun of people that like that shit, but like I'd rather be doing something else. But now I'm starting to understand. Okay, this shit's actually pretty cool. Like you get in-depth stories, and it's storytelling, bro. Storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's all.
Yeah, man. That's what we do, bro. That's what we do.
Some stories are told, with dialogue, and wrestling, the stories are told in the ring with physicality. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about it. You know what I mean? Like you said, like it's a one take. They don't get a do over. They don't yell cut in the middle of a match. You know what I mean? And so,
right.
With that said, yeah. But man, yeah, I made a list. I mean, I know technically it's in no particular order, but I'll say for me, for Eddie, I'll say this I'll let you go after me. My honorable mention for me, I wanted to put it on the list, but for me, honorable mention. If you haven't seen this match, everyone that's listening, go to YouTube and look this up. It's a fucking awesome match. It is a little. The tape quality is not that great because it's the early 2002. It's just before Eddie Guerrero got rehired by the WWE to come back after he was let go the previous year. It is a three-way dance, and it's gonna trip you out when you see this because everybody looks so fucking young in this video. It's a three-way dance for IWA Mid-South, this indie promotion in the East Coast. It's Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio without a mask because Rey hadn't even brought his mask back yet because Rey wouldn't wear the mask until he went to WWF later that summer in 2002 versus a very, very young CM Punk. This is Punk with long, greasy hair, and he's wearing the basketball shorts as his in-ring attire. Like, this isn't Punk today. This is very, very young CM Punk. And it's an awesome, awesome match. These guys put on a hell of a match for about maybe 50 people, maybe 100, if that. And the crowd is just eating out of the palm of their hands. That's how real professionals take their craft seriously. That no matter how many asses are in the seats, they're going to put on a great match. And that is my honorable mention in terms of my favorite Eddie Guerrero matches. That three-way dance, definitely should check it out. Look it up on YouTube, guys. What's your honorable mention, man?
You got me on the spot right here. Okay. I'm going to say the ladder match with Rob Van Dam from Monday Night Raw in 2002.
Okay.
It was very hard for me to not put that on the list, but I have 10 before that. So I'm like, yeah, that match was pretty dope. Good action.
I actually had that as my number 8. If I did it in numbers, but I mean, like I said, I didn't really mean it in no particular order, but I had that on my list.
Yeah.
Love that match. That's a great match.
Bro, Frog Splash versus Frog Splash. I mean, didn't some jabroni try to come in the ring and interfere? And
some idiot drunk fan tried to screw up the match. He tried to push Eddie off the ladder, and then Eddie gave him a 1-2, and then security grabbed him. Eddie was thank God Eddie was aware of his surroundings because Eddie jumped off the ladder before that idiot could push the ladder over, and then he just started fucking wailing the guy, and then the referee tackled him out of the ring, and Rob Van Dam's like, what's going on, dude?
Rob Van Dam was like, bro, Oh man, yeah, that would be my honorable mention.
Even with that interference, it's still a great match. You know which match I actually watched the other day? I rewatched him and RVD from Backlash before the ladder match when Eddie beat him for the Intercontinental title. That's a great match.
I was gonna put that on here too, but I can keep going. So I was like, I better stop because that's up there. That's up there.
At number 10 for me, I put Vengeance 2003, the finals of the U.S. title tournament, Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. That is
man, That's when they did this first SmackDown pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, that was the very first SmackDown branded pay-per-view. This is when the draft started separating the pay-per-views. So like certain pay-per-views would be Raw branded and certain pay-per-views would be SmackDown branded. And that particular one was the first SmackDown one. That one was actually had a lot of great matches on that card. I mean, you had the very first Undertaker versus John Cena match. You had Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle versus
show
for the WWE Championship. And then Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit was the opening match. And it was the finals for the United States Championship. They had just recreated the United States title for the WWE since SmackDown didn't have a mid-card title like Raw did. So this was the finals of that.
That was a shit.
Yeah.
That was a shit, boy. That was
a good match.
That was a fucking sick-ass match.
It really was.
Dan, are we doing – so you want me to go now? Or?
Yeah. We can go back and forth. Yeah. Let's just see.
All right. No specific order, but if I have to pick number 10, I got to go the one where he finally beat Ray after that feud when they were going at it and Ray kept beating him. And it was the SmackDown match. Yeah. The one where he finally beats him. I was just like, finally, dude. Like,
yeah.
It was like 4 or 5 months where Eddie was just doing the favors to Ray, and finally when Eddie beat that. So guys, I started when you're a kid, you go for the baby faces, the good guys, right? And if you're a baby face today, I'll still, if you have some edge to you, and you know you're not too like bland, I'll still rock with you. But like at that time, I was kind of starting to go with the heels, and I was fucking pissed. I thought Eddie was going to beat Ray at not SummerSlam. I thought he was going to beat him at the Great American Bash. It was like a 5-month program.
Yeah, it was.
When he finally beat him at SmackDown in the cage match, I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" Like finally,
right.
Like So that for me would be number 10. I don't know if you can go back and watch that. I don't know if they have that anywhere, but like Martin was saying, probably got it on one of the DVDs we got, huh? Because DVDs were a thing back then. So
yeah, I know, right?
That would be my number 10, brother. But what do you got for your number 9?
At number 9, man, I wanted to put this higher on my list, but I had to put it somewhere, so I put it at number 9. Judgment Day 2004 WWE Championship against JBL. What a crazy, crazy match, man. Eddie had to go to the hospital after this match. I think he had to get a blood transfusion because he cut himself so deep whenever he took that crazy chair shot from JBL, and he just bled like crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a bloodier match on WWE television than that. I mean, WWE, at the time, they had bloody matches here and there, but nothing I don't think has ever come close to that. Nothing. Because, his whole entire face was fucking red, dude. I mean, the whole ring was covered. JBL was stained with Eddie's blood on his, chest and, arms and, and that ended in disqualification. And that was, one of the first pay-per-view events I think they had in that was the first pay-per-view event that Eddie
main evented.
Main evented as champion because WrestleMania he was the third to last match on the card after he won the title from Lesnar. This was technically his very first main event title match, and it was against JBL, who was trying to basically make as a heel, because it was crazy how just randomly all of a sudden Bradshaw from the APA becomes this this wannabe realist, a Wall Street broker Texan guy, almost kind of I'm gonna make myself sound super fucking old with this reference. JR, I guess what's his name, JR from Dallas, this drama show where it was he was basically a similar character, he'd wear a cowboy hat and he was some rich tycoon type thing that was a dick like JBL was. So I mean it was.
Remember that fucker went to the border and shit and started kicking everybody out.
Yeah, I mean you can't do that shit today, but but I do remember that.
You gotta love the heel shit, dude.
Yeah, and then they did the whole thing where he gave Eddie's mom a heart attack or something at a house show. Yeah. I mean, they did so many things to like get him over. And Eddie, I love hearing JBL talk about Eddie because you could just see how much like love he has for Eddie still after all these years. I think Eddie was his best man at his wedding. He said, like, I remember him telling that story, and then like he said, like, man, like Eddie would just pull me aside and he would read me scriptures, or he would quote me scripture from Bible, and then I mean, like, it's just really nice to hear those kind of stories about Eddie, like, not just the in-ring stuff, but the backstage stuff. And Bradshaw always has really nice things to say about Eddie. So, and then that match between him, and I think that match alone put Bradshaw up there as a, like, man, this guy means business as a heel, as a top heel.
Yeah.
He showed off like what a fighting champion should be like. I mean, he was like near death, bleeding.
Because that's when Brock had left, and they needed someone to fill that void, right? So,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I gotta go. That one's on my list, but for me to count down, gotta go. Los Guerreros putting the tag titles in the Garden at Survivor Series.
I have that as my as my number 7.
Yeah, bro, you got Eddie and Chavo, Los Guerreros against Angle and Benoit, against Edge and Ray. These teams have been feuding for a couple months, and I'm not sure who were the champions at the time. I think it was Edge and Ray won the titles.
Yeah, I think it was Edge and Ray. Yeah,
but the matches that they put on SmackDown, but then it all led up to Survivor Series 2002, and Los Guerreros finally. I think Eddie did the what was that submission move he used to do?
The lasso from El Paso.
The lasso from El Paso, dude, and that's how the finish was. I remember being genuinely happy for them that they finally won, dude. I was like,
same here. Los Guerreros, man. I thought that was really dope. I mean, in what better way? Two guys, like I said, they're uncle and nephew. They grew up like brothers, winning the WWE Tag Team titles together in Madison Square Garden, the mecca of professional wrestling. Like, you can't get any better than that. You know what I mean? And that match stands out. I mean, that whole pay-per-view is actually fucking awesome from top to bottom. But that match really stands out in terms of like just the ability and what the guys did. I mean, they were known as the SmackDown 6 for a reason. They were literally the backbone of SmackDown during that time. Like, you couldn't have a bad match with any 6 of those guys.
I agree.
Yeah. But I already said what my number 8 was with RVD, the IC title ladder match on Raw, and then my number 7 is the tag team match we just talked about. So
okay. So same thing for me. JBL Judgment Day, 2004. I got that next. That we already talked about it. The bell rings. They're still going at it for another 10, 15 minutes. I mean, that was the shit, bro.
Yeah, dude. Most definitely. And then at number 7, I had, like I said, the tag team match. I'll jump to my 6, and you can go on next with your next 2. At number 6, I put versus Rey Mysterio, SummerSlam 2005, the custody of Dominic ladder match.
Fuck, I forgot about that one, bro.
I know it's so ridiculous that these guys are fighting over the custody of a child in a ladder match, but I mean, you got to suspend the disbelief to be entertained, and it's like without that storyline, without that addedness to the storyline, you wouldn't have this awesome fucking T-shirt, because that's where he coined this. During that feud, that's where he coined the "I'm your puppy," because he told that to Dominic. That secret Ray didn't tell you. I'm your puppy, Dominic. I'm your daddy.
It's bedtime stories with Eddie Guerrero, Holmes. Now, Ray was shooting a lot of blanks, Holmes. Yeah. Yo soy LA.
And then the match is fucking awesome. Eddie and him having this match. Little Dominic Mysterio right fucking there at ringside. So crazy that today he's one of the best heels in the business. Like, how fucking nuts is that? Like, who would have thought that, dude? Like
father, like son, dude.
Right?
Like father, like son.
And then I always laugh. I know it's a botch in the match, but I always laugh because when I first noticed it, like I noticed it years later because when you first watch the match, you don't really think about it. Like it didn't look like a botch because they're so professional. It didn't seem that way. But when you rewatch the match and you catch that part when he's fucking goes, "Where the fuck was Vicky?"
God damn it! Yeah, she missed her cue.
Yeah, she missed her cue to come push him off the ladder. I fucking love that. It's so funny. Like Eddie, man, he's like, "Where the fuck?"
Hey, man. Hey, am I a piece of shit because I wanted Eddie to win that?
I wanted Eddie to win. I was even when Eddie turned heel. He never stopped being my favorite wrestler. I was just like, "Fuck yeah, fuck Rey Mysterio!" Like,
yeah, bro, straight up.
Yeah, I was mad. I was mad that he fucking lost at Mania. I was mad that he lost at Judgment Day. I was mad that he lost at fucking Great American Bash. And I was like, God, like, what the fuck, man? He lost at SummerSlam too?
And that's why I had that SmackDown one. I was like, when he finally beat him, I was like, thank you. You know?
Right? Oh,
yeah.
Man. Damn, you know what's another honorable mention? I should have put that on there to go back. I should have put his last pay-per-view main event against Batista.
That's what I got next, bro.
That's what you got next? Awesome. That's a fucking awesome match, man.
Hey, that was actually on his birthday, too.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that pay.
Hey, his music on that, like when he, in that time, his music, that's my favorite theme of his besides Viva La Raza, of course. But
yeah, I like that one, too. Yeah.
It's like he was like a tweener. Like, he was a heel, but he was a face, but you didn't know. But you just started falling back in love with the character because you could tell he was going to turn back to a face for sure. But
right.
Yeah, that was actually what I had next. That's funny.
That's so funny. Yeah.
I got 6 left, brother. How many do you have?
I got 5 left.
You want me to get one more out of the way?
Go ahead and get one more. Yeah.
So this isn't really a match in the ring, but it was just entertaining as fuck. And I remember watching it. I was in 8th grade, and I was just marking out the parking lot brawl with John Cena, dude.
Oh man, I can't believe I forgot that.
Hey, it's cool, man. I forgot the ladder match. You got it, and I got you on this one, so don't trip.
That is such a good match, man. I forgot about that.
That match is the shit, bro. That match is the shit, bro.
Yeah, and they had all the cars parked in a big circle, and then like
all the wrestlers.
Yeah, man. And that's when Chavo came back from his injury.
That's what Chavo. Yep.
Yeah,
that match is.
That was cool, man. That was a good one. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was that was one of Cena's like first big
Thugonomics.
Yeah, when he was the Doctor of Thugonomics was against Eddie for the U.S. title. Like him and John, they had a nice little feud there.
Yeah, they did.
Man, yeah, that was a really good one.
What you got, bro?
At number 5, well, real quick, let's take a quick little break. It won't be long. We're gonna give some love to some of the other iSports Radio shows here on the part of the iSports Radio Network, and then when we come back, we'll do the top 5 of our top 5 of each other's Eddie Guerrero's best matches list. Okay, so stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back with the IE Wrestling Show in just a moment. Okay, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sorry about that. We are back live. Sorry, I had a little bit of technical difficulties there. I hit the wrong button, but we are back, still celebrating the Eddie Guerrero celebration of life here. Me and my boy Brent right here are going over our favorite matches and talking about some of our favorite moments of Eddie Guerrero. Again, live here on his birth date, which would have been his 57th birthday here today on October 9th. We went over some awesome matches of ours. We've gone through the first 5 or 6 or so. I mean, we talked about a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them we're kind of cohesive with some of the similar matches we keep talking about. But this will be my final 5. I know that you got another final 5. My number 5, which I thought was a great feud that went longer than this match. This was actually the first of this feud. WWE Championship, WrestleMania 20, Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero. I fucking love that. Man. I absolutely love that match. Their feud leading into it was really cool. Kurt Angle was a babyface up until this point, and then he turns on Eddie because he doesn't think Eddie is good enough
to be champ.
WWF champion. He's not fit enough. He's a former addict. Like, how are you gonna have a former addict as a champion? I'm an Olympic gold medalist, and I won it with a broken freaking neck. And Eddie, was just, I got this, Holmes. I used to be addict, yeah, but now I'm addicted to the high of being WWE champion. And they just had this feud. And then I love the spot on the card of where it was, because I mean, WrestleMania 20 was pretty stacked from top to bottom. But man, they gave Eddie his flower, Eddie and Kurt their flowers. It wasn't the main event of the show, but it was the top 3. It was the third to the last match. You had Eddie Guerrero and Angle, and then Undertaker's return against Kane, and then the triple threat World Heavyweight Championship match. So, I mean, Eddie was right there. Like, he was one of the matches that closed out the night, and had one of the most entertaining matches on the card. And I found out years later, watching the Kurt Angle documentary, that Kurt had broke his neck in the middle of that match, again, like for the 4th time or something like that, he said. 3rd or 4th time, something like that, he said. And I forgot what it was. It was such a weird spot that it happened on. Like, it's like, wow, I didn't even notice that, because Kurt didn't seem hurt in that match at all. And it had a really, I love the finish of that match. It was so on brand with Eddie Guerrero and the whole lie, cheat, and steal. Part of his character, like Eddie, with Kurt just not paying attention, Eddie starts untying his boot. And then when Kurt goes to put him in the ankle lock, Eddie is able to slip out of his boot while Kurt has him in the hold. And Kurt's just like, what the fuck? And he turns around and he's fucking cradled. And Eddie is so close to the ropes, he's able to grab the ropes with his feet and hang on and pin Kurt and win the match. Like, how fucking awesome was that?
You just see Kurt like this. He has like the boot. He's like, he has the boot. He's like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
Exactly. It was so awesome. It was such an ingenious way for Eddie to beat him. And you could say it was clean. You could say it wasn't clean. To me, that was a clean win. Okay. Like, I mean, there's nothing in the rules that say you can't untie your boot in the middle of a match. Okay. Like, he didn't hit him with it. You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't see anything, dude.
exactly. Like, that was such an awesome match.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back on that. I'm gonna stay on that feud. Next up for me would have to be the rematch, Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle, but the rematch that took place at SummerSlam.
That was also a really good one, man. Yeah, that was
I thought that match was better, just as far as action goes. But Kurt Angle did end up winning, making Eddie tap, I think, for the finish. But yeah, that whole feud was awesome, and just what a good way to close out the feud at SummerSlam, bro. Like, I don't know. For me, the Mania match was cool. Eddie looked like a star, and Angle was up there with him, but just for some reason that SummerSlam match, I just like by a hair, I just like it, that much more. I don't know why. But.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I love they're leading up to that SummerSlam rematch is when Eddie stole all of Kurt's belongings from his office when Kurt was GM, and he starts selling it to the people in the crowd. Like his picture and his gold medal.
Like auctioning it off, right? Some of it
off. Yeah, that was a really funny segment when Eddie was doing that leading up into their SummerSlam match, and then I don't remember. I don't think it was that match. It was like they had another match on SmackDown. I think it was the match the night that Big Show returned and just laid out the entire SmackDown roster.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you've heard Kurt talk about this, but him and Eddie got into a fight backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Eddie tried to double leg Kurt, like to live and go. I mean, Eddie used to wrestle in high school, but I mean, you can't. You're trying to double leg and Olympic gold medalist, man. Like, and then
there's levels, bro.
After they got pulled apart, Kurt tried to talk to Eddie and kind of squash it, and Eddie's like, he wasn't like reciprocating, and Kurt's like, "What the fuck, man?" He's like, "I'm not ready yet." He's like, he's like, "I'm just trying to like squash it, man. I want to I'm sorry. Are you sorry? Like, can we just end this?" He's like, "I'm not ready yet." And JBL, I guess, went and asked Eddie, what were you thinking, trying to take down an Olympic gold medalist? I don't know. I guess I'm just stupid. It's funny hearing that story. I mean, because even Kurt described it as two brothers just getting into a fight, things just escalated.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Eddie, and you can see Kurt, just like I talked about JBL, you can see the real love and appreciation that Kurt had for Eddie. So, and he talks about that. I know it's probably, he said it's not one of my funnest memories with Eddie, but it's funny now, looking back on it.
Right. No, yeah, dude. Absolutely. Next, brother.
Number 4, I feel like people sleep on this match a lot, and I really think it's just a great wrestling match from top to bottom. Versus Rey Mysterio, tag champion versus tag champion, WrestleMania 21. It was the first time ever, and I think the only time, because they haven't had a tag champion facing another tag champion since then. They were both, at the time, WWE Tag Team Champions, and they came to a friendly agreement that they would wrestle against each other at WrestleMania. And that was the first time ever that a current Tag Team Championship duo wrestled against each other in a one-on-one match at a WrestleMania.
That was a great opener, too.
It really was, yeah. It was the WrestleMania where WrestleMania goes Hollywood. It was in LA at the Staples Center. A lot of big matches that night. I mean, that was literally the debut eras for both John Cena and Batista as top guys. They both won their respective world titles that night. Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels had a fucking classic. They stole the show that night. But
Taker and Randy.
Taker and Randy was also a fucking awesome match. Legend versus Legend Killer. That wrote itself. I mean, you can't teach that. Yeah. But I mean, Eddie and Ray, they kicked off the night, and I feel like it just went up from there. You know what I mean? A hot match, a hot crowd that was ready for the match, and
that was the beginning of their feud, right? That we were talking about that ultimately led to Eddie finally.
snapping.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
I was pissed that I was mad Eddie lost that, but yeah, it's
Me
all
too.
good.
I was mad that Eddie lost that too, but it was a great match.
So we got how many you got left? I got 4.
I got 3 left.
Okay, perfect. Number 4, you got to be a diehard for this one. You got to. A lot of you might not have watched it, but if you haven't, go back and watch it. The farewell match in ECW against Dean Malenko, 2 out of 3 falls.
Oh, yes, that's a good one, dude.
That match. These guys are both leaving for WCW, going to make more money, going to try to become bigger stars, and the whole crowd. The ECW crowd is what AEW crowds try to be like, but I feel like the passion of the ECW crowds, like they were chanting at the end because it was a 2 out of 3 falls, and I believe that they became a draw, right?
That's right. Yeah, they didn't draw. Neither one won. Yeah.
And you got all the wrestlers come out and they put up the guys on their shoulders, and the whole crowd's chanting, "Please don't go."
Yeah, they were doing that. That's right.
So badass, dude. If you guys haven't watched that, go back and watch it, bro. I guarantee you.
That's a really good one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can find that match on like I don't know, one of Eddie's match retrospective DVDs, or on Peacock. They have a lot of old school ECW television on there, so I'm pretty sure you can actually find that match pretty easily.
They got a lot of that. They got a lot of that stuff edited, though, huh?
As far as like the music goes, I mean, they edited a lot of the music. ECW used a lot of music, and they never got permission to do so. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. New Jack songs isn't on there, so yeah, I got you.
It's some generic sounding song. Yeah. Same with
R.I.P. to New Jack.
No, yeah.
Yeah, brother. What you got next?
Number 3, I had to put this at number 3 just because the next 2, it was like they had to be 1 and 2. But for number 3, no disqualification match on SmackDown against Edge. That's the same thing I got. Was, dude.
Same thing I got.
That was their SummerSlam match was really good, but this one was the tits. Okay, like this match was crazy, man. They put on a hell of a match. I think this was like, I remember this match so vividly, watching it live, like when it was. Well, I know SmackDown was taped at the time, but you know what I mean, like watching it as it was playing on television at the time. And I remember this so vividly being one of the first matches where I was just like hooked from the very beginning all the way to the end. I wasn't distracted. I didn't change the channel. I was just right there. Like, I was so enthralled in this match between the two of them, and that crazy finish, man, with Edge doing the execution DDT off the fucking ladder, you know, and Eddie just that crashing sound of Eddie's body hitting the fucking mat, dude, and bouncing off of it. And man, like, I think if they didn't get a standing ovation, they fucking deserved one, because that match was that crowd was I think there's a backstory where I think Edge is talking about it, and I think Eddie told Edge in his ear, he's like, "We got him now, baby." You know, like, I remember hearing Edge say that.
That crowd was so into that match, and just the spots were perfect. You got to think, these guys, they used a fucking ladder in an ODQ match. Now, if this was AEW, you'd see freaking 4 ladders, 3 burning tables, 2 bags of thumbtacks, a fucking 2 things of glass. Like, they didn't need all that. They needed a little bit of it because it was no DQ, but they displayed their talent and their acrobatic skills, and it was just everything was magic that night, and that's my number 3 as well.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think they did get a standing ovation. I remember Eddie standing in the ring and the crowd just giving him his fucking flowers after that. And I think that did happen, because for some reason that memory stuck in my head. Like, I think that really did happen. If I'm just remembering it differently.
Was that 2003?
That was 2002. That was SmackDown 2002. That was right after SummerSlam. So that was right before. That was right before Edge and Ray wrestled Kurt and Benoit for the tag titles at Unforgiven. So that was like leading up to
Okay.
that.
So I remember Eddie wrestled The Rock on Raw, and I was like, dude, this guy deserves to be up, higher after that Rock match. And I think the Edge one took place after
That was before
Edge, right? That was before the Edge match.
That was way before Edge. Yeah, that was right after his See, that's another man. What a missed opportunity! Not only did we miss out on Shawn Michaels and Eddie, due to his passing, but because Stone Cold Steve Austin walked out in June of 2002, when he famously just took his ball and went home, like they say, he was supposed to have a match with Eddie Guerrero at the King of the Ring in June. Had Stone Cold not walked out, that was his next feud. Like, they had already started and planted the seeds and everything. Like, and the match was even announced. It was already on the card for King of the Ring 2002. It was supposed to be Eddie and Stone Cold. And then when Stone Cold walked out at the last minute, they changed it to Ric Flair and Eddie Guerrero, which was still a decent match. But can you imagine what would have happened with Eddie? That would have been his first big main event feud against the top guy of top guys, fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's not, and Eddie never blamed Steve for walking, for taking that opportunity away from him, which shows you the type of guy that Eddie was. Even Steve said that, on occasions. Like, he also, I mean, like I said, nobody has a bad thing to say about Eddie Guerrero. It seems like Eddie Guerrero and Owen Hart are the two, like, people that never get spoken ill about. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, dude.
Oof. At number two, this was difficult for me, man, to really place these two matches because I really wanted to flip flop them.
I think we got them. Yeah, I think my number one's your number two, and I think vice versa.
I think so too. But so at number two, as much as it pained me to put this at number two, I had to put it there just because the number one for me is just my favorite match. I've watched it so many times. I can't get enough of it. It doesn't, it never bores me. This match also doesn't bore me. I love this match. That's why it was so difficult to flip flop them for me. At number two, No Way Out, 2004, WWE Championship, the Cow Palace in San Francisco. I'll always remember that date, February 15th, 2004, the day that Eddie Guerrero beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. I mean, this title, it was this version of the belt that Eddie Guerrero won from Brock Lesnar, a title that I don't think a lot of people ever thought Eddie Guerrero would ever hold, but lo and behold, he did it. That's why they came out with this tribute title to Eddie Guerrero. And for the little Easter egg of the strap, if you look closely, if you watch that match, the strap is the same design of the tights that Eddie Guerrero wore that night when he won the championship. He wore these
that's dope.
The red tights with this same design, the green and the black and the gold in it. Yeah, if you go back and watch that match, those are the same tights that Eddie Guerrero was wearing that night. So yeah, so it's like an awesome like a legit tribute title to Eddie Guerrero to the night that he won the championship. And that match was such a beautiful old school style match with Brock Lesnar being the brunt, the brute, the bigger, the immovable object, and Eddie Guerrero being like, it was the classic David versus Goliath, man. Like, Eddie Guerrero was fighting from the bottom the entire match. Eddie would have these moments of of like, oh man, maybe he's catching some steam, and then here comes Brock like a fucking bulldozer, just knocking him back down. And Brock was just wearing him out, and you can hear Brock screaming at Eddie like, like, Eddie, like, just die, Eddie. Like he's like, what else do I got to do to beat you? And it didn't hurt Eddie that Goldberg ended up getting involved in the match because they had already planted the seeds for Brock and Goldberg for WrestleMania at the Rumble that year, which I honestly thought was going to end up being for the WWE title because as much as I loved Eddie, he was my favorite wrestler at the time. As much as I loved him, in the back of my mind, just knowing how the WWE was, I was like, "There's no way they're putting the belt on Eddie." I wanted to be optimistic, but I guess being just a realist and knowing how I was starting to get smarter to the business in terms of like how things are booked, I just didn't see it happening. But man, I think that's why it made it so much more emotional when he did win the title, like when he actually won the championship. I remember him winning, and I was running around my fucking house, screaming at the top of my lungs like a fucking idiot. But like I grabbed my dad and I was like, "He fucking did it! He fucking did it!" Like and my dad's laughing at me and hugging me, and it was just a great moment, man. Like and Eddie jumping into the crowd, and you see how just the crowd just fucking grabs him, is just loving all over him, and like that pop in Frisco. His mom is there in the crowd. His brother Mondo is right there. Oh man, like, and Eddie, that famous shot, man, of Eddie, like when he takes the belt, kisses it, and holds it above his head, and you can just see him like praying and talking, to I'm sure he had some words for his dad, and I'm sure his dad was watching him at that moment. Like, man, it was just what a fucking night that was, man. Like, and I love seeing like the footage of that night, and you see the boys are right there waiting for him to come through the curtain, and they're hugging him, and Eddie and Ray embrace, and Vince and Eddie have this really, really fun moment. I know Vince is like
cool moment
about it right now, but I really love seeing that image of Eddie like laughing and holding the belt, and Vince is like right there, and he just gives him this big fucking hug. Like, you can just see how happy Vince was for him and how much Eddie was loving this. You know what I mean? Like, it was such a, oh man, it was so fucking awesome, dude. Like, I'm trying to like not get too like, emotional just thinking about it, but all those old feelings are coming back right now talking about it.
Bro, we didn't know how good we had it. You know what I'm saying? I remember it was like probably 4 or 5 of us. We all pitched in to order the pay-per-view, and we almost didn't order it, but my friend's mom finally said yes, and because we had the money, and she's like, fine, whatever. It was like 5 or 6 of us in my boy's room. We're watching it on a little small ass TV. We all lost our shit, and we fucking nuts, and we were. It was like we were there in the moment too, bro. Like that's the thing about that. Like you can't teach that shit. You can't read that shit, bro. Like that's for me. That would be number one, because he became the man. He won the title, but what a great moment, bro. And I heard Brock was really pissed about losing that match at first, but he was going to leave anyway. So I mean, I don't think it really mattered.
I heard like years later, I heard a really nice little story from Vicky, Eddie's widow, talking about Brock. And she said that Brock absolutely loved Eddie. And she says whenever Brock sees me, he always gives me this big hug, and he tells me like I miss him. You know what I mean? Like, I miss Eddie. I still miss Eddie. And it's really cool to hear. That's really cool to hear, especially like about a guy like Brock, who's like, you don't really hear too much about how he is on the outside, because Brock is very like, he's very private to himself. He's very private. He's very sheltered. Like he keeps himself very close to the chest. He's not very open with anyone, at least like not with fans anyway. But it was really nice to hear that story that Vicky, told that on a shoot interview a while back. I was like, oh, that's really cool to hear. Like, that Brock like had a relationship with Eddie like that, to be like, man, I loved him, and he goes out of his way to tell, Eddie's widow that whenever he sees her. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah, man! One of the greatest moments of all time. What you got at number one? I already know, but what do you got?
Number one, man. Number one with a bullet, man. This was, like I said, it was really tough to flip flop these ones, but I had to go with this match because it's just such a beautiful match from start to finish. And I don't even think this match even went past 10 minutes, if that. I mean, like what they did in this ring in this match at the time, it was the match of the night. It was probably the match of the year for WCW that year in 1997.
I think it was.
Then I think they even won the PWI, that old school wrestling magazine, Pro Wrestling Illustrated match of the year, feud of the year for that event. And it's got to be. I couldn't choose any other match, because sometimes, like when I'm feeling shitty, if I'm sick and I just need something to give me a pickup, this is the match I usually put on and watch. Yeah, and it's the WCW Cruiserweight Championship mask versus title. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero from Halloween Havoc 1997.
Classic, bro.
It's so classic, man, and it's like, it's not the biggest feud in the world. They weren't the biggest stars at the time, but man, they made believers out of those fans that night because the crowd was so hot for this match from start to finish, and the things that Eddie and him did in this match were so crazy. Like of course, the most famous spot from that match that you always get to see on replays is that backflip DDT from the top rope.
Oh.
Eddie from Ray, and Ray and Eddie, Ray's talked about this match many, many times, and he said that was just on a fly. We did not practice anything. Eddie was one of those wrestlers that always called it in the ring. Eddie was not one of those guys that would map out a match prior to going out there. Eddie would have his matches conducted based on crowd reaction, and so everything would always be called in the ring. That's why Eddie is very old school that way. I think Brett's that way. Shawn Michaels was always like that. And so that's why I keep going back and forth between the whole what if scenario between Eddie and Shawn, because those two guys calling a match in the ring based on crowd reaction, that's, we can keep saying what ifs forever, but I mean, you can imagine.
Yeah.
So for Eddie and Ray to do that at that point in their both of their careers, it really, I would say, put them on the map. You know what I mean? It definitely made Ray a fucking huge star at the time, and Eddie a huge star that would, go on to be, both of them would go on to bigger and better things, in the future. But that match, I would say, definitely, if they weren't already on anyone's radar, that match definitely did that. That match put them on everyone's radar.
So, to win a title, of course, but I can understand completely. I didn't watch WCW back then, so I mean, I can understand, but I mean, I just remember right off the top, he's like, "I'm gonna rip that man right off your face," and he runs at him, and then they just it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop for 10, 12 minutes, however long it was. So that's good shit, bro.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and then Eddie, just being the ultimate heel in that match. He's got Ray on the ground and he's tearing at his mask, ripping open the eye hole, almost exposing Ray's face to the world before we ever saw Ray's face. A couple years later, but that was and Ray was supposed to lose that match. Bischoff wanted Ray to lose his mask that night, and it was up until I think right before they went out that leading up to that Bischoff finally changed his mind and was like, okay, Ray's going over. We're putting the title on Ray. And I don't know if Eddie or Conan had anything to do with that, but I know they were going bat. They were going bat for Ray.
I'm sure they did. Yeah, I'm sure
they did. Yeah, I'm sure they had a lot to do with the match getting changed. Because I think even Eddie knew it's not the time. Ray, because it's not the time. You know what I mean? Ray doesn't need to be losing his mask at any point.
Once a luchador loses their mask, it's kind of they lose everything after that. So
yeah,
it's their identity.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and for a while, I mean, that's how it was with Ray. Whenever he did lose the mask, I mean, he just kind of was just another face in the crowd, really. I mean, for a minute there, they tried to push him as this giant killer, he beat Kevin Nash and some other big guys, but nothing.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he didn't become a big star. He wasn't winning world titles. He was still just winning the Cruiserweight title, and occasionally he would be a tag team champion. I will say this: before Eddie left for WWE, I did enjoy him, Kidman, Mysterio, and Conan as the Filthy Animals. I thought that was a cool little group.
Yeah, that's something I got to go back and check that out, man.
Yeah, you should go back and check out their time as the Filthy Animals. That was they were fun. You know what I mean? It was almost like it was kind of like a wannabe DX, but on a more urban level, I guess, in a way. You know what I mean? Because they would pull pranks on other wrestlers, and they would.
Is that when Ray had the horns or something?
Yeah. Ray had the horns, and they had Tori Wilson with them, and then one of the other Nitro girls was coming out with Ray. And then after Eddie left, it just kind of sucked because then they replaced Eddie with Disco Inferno and fucking Juventud, and that's when Hoovy was doing the juice. You know, if you smell what the juice is cooking.
Is that why? Dwayne, or sorry, not Dwayne. Sorry, The Rock. Is that why The Rock said to Chris Jericho, "You think you're special? Why? Because a few months ago you were down south fighting some jabroni named Juventud."
Yeah,
is that why he said that? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now it makes sense, bro.
He started calling himself the Juice. Yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Some jabroni called Juventud.
Final boss, dude.
You're the WCW champion, sucker.
Sucker. Thomas Jefferson, sucker. Oh, man.
The Booker. That's 3, sucker.
Oh, man, bro. Yeah, I think that match with Eddie and Rock, that was a badass match too. The counter, the counter that he did for the Rock Bottom, that Rock Bottom counter he did. I had to rewind that thing like 5 times. I was like, how did he do that? But,
right. That's the thing, man. Eddie Guerrero, and he's still influencing wrestling today, man. Eddie Guerrero has been gone since 2005. It's nearly 20. It'll be 20 years next year. That's fucking nuts to me. It'll be 20 years since Eddie Guerrero passed away next year, next November. But his influence is still seen all over the place. I mean, in terms of a lot of the high flying guys that came after him, a lot of the like I said,
LWO's back.
Yeah, the LWO, and it even has the Viva la Raza in their entrance music when it comes out. You know, when they come out,
as it should. Hey, bro. Rey Mysterio's entrance to Mania 39 when he wrestled Dominic.
I'll say this. I'm not ashamed to say this.
I got teary eyed, bro.
Yeah, I did. I teared up too when I heard Eddie Guerrero's music and you see Ray and Snoop come out in that lowrider. I bet you we weren't the only ones, man. There had to be more people. There wasn't, tearing up seeing that or hearing that anyway. That was really fucking.
Yeah, I looked
cool.
I looked at because I went to night 2, so I was pissed I didn't go to night 1 to see that. But
right.
I remember looking at my boy after the Eddie hit, and my boy looked at me, and I was like, "Dude, right here, bro, fucking, that, damn, you missed those days." But
yeah,
hey, brother, I just want to say thank you for having me on, and I had a great time, and hopefully I'll be back for some more.
Yeah, for sure, man.
R.I.P. to Eddie Guerrero, the legend, and I'm gonna go away now. I gotta go away for a while, but thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
Oh man, yeah, dude. Thank you for coming on, man. I'm glad we were able to finally do this, man. I know we've been talking about it for quite some time. So I'm finally super happy that we were able to do this, man. And I'm so grateful that you're able to show up here today for the show, man. Because this was such a special show, and I really couldn't see myself doing this without anybody else but you, man. Honestly, because me and you we're like this, brother, and wrestling is what binds us. At least that's what started our friendship, really. You know what I mean?
This?
Yeah, like that, brother.
Like this, or
like that.
All right, you said it.
No,
that is no, did he? That reminded me of that doctor who was like that guy that it was like Batista and Eddie in the back, and that guy's like, "We're already Mr. Guerrero." Yeah.
Oh my God, I remember that, Mr. Guerrero.
Yeah, brother. Well, shit. It was an honor, bro. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, man. And let's do this again soon.
Yeah, for sure, man. You take care, man. I'll have you back on the show, guys. The shout out to my boy Brent Jackson. Thank you for coming here live on the IE Wrestling Show. Thanks again, brother. Take care, man.
You too, brother.
Thank you, man. All right, guys. Well, I am still here. We're gonna take a quick little break before I send us out for the day. Let's hear from a couple more IE Sports Radio awesome shows, and we'll be right back in just a moment. Stay tuned, guys.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you with the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, y'all? We are back here on the IE Wrestling Show. I just want to say thanks again for tuning in to the IE Wrestling Show. I am so glad that y'all stayed tuned for this special show. I was really eager to do this, especially since the date fell on his birthday. He really was my favorite wrestler and still is my favorite wrestler of all time. And for me to be able to celebrate the life of Eddie Guerrero and the career of Eddie Guerrero is my special way of paying tribute to him and all he meant to my fandom as a professional wrestling fan. And again, shout out to my boy, Brent Jackson, for being able to be a part of this special episode. And you will see Brent again whenever he's available. He'll pop up here. And hopefully next week, my boy T5 will show up back here, host of the Crescent City Connection. T5 will be back here live hopefully next week so we can go more in depth into Bad Blood, and maybe we'll go into discussing AEW Wrestle Dream, which is taking place this coming weekend. And next weekend will be, I believe, or is it this weekend? I could be wrong. I think it might actually be this weekend. Also is TNA Bound for Glory, their big event of the year, which is their version of WrestleMania. TNA's WrestleMania has always been Bound for Glory. So if it's not next weekend, I think it's coming up this weekend. I'll have to look into that. But if it does happen this weekend, we'll discuss that as well. And we'll get into the follow-up for the newest episode of NXT, which premiered yesterday. And then the following episode, which should premiere next Tuesday as well. With that, guys, I just want to say thank you again for tuning into the IE Wrestling Show. Please do us a favor and go to IE Sports Radio's official pages on social media, YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Please follow IE Sports Radio on all these podcasting platforms listed here, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and then so many more. Check out their website, our website, iesportsradio.com. And you can check out my my page at iesportsradio.com/the IE Wrestling Show. If you haven't listened to if you missed some of my episodes, you can go back and check them out there. Go to the IE Sports Radio official shop where you can buy this awesome official IE Sports Radio logo t-shirt. We have tank tops as well, hats, and hopefully with the winter season coming up, we can get some hoodies available for y'all as well. I'll stay tuned. I'll let you know if they do become available. And with that, please follow me on the X and on TikTok at IE Wrestling Show. That's at IE Wrestling Show. Please check out our official sponsors again, Planet Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Go to planetjerky.net and order yourself some Planet Jerky, amazing, delicious, premium brisket beef jerky. And then head on over to Seal the Deal Wax Seals and go to the official page at iSportsRadio.com/Seal the Deal Wax Seals, where you can order directly from the IE Sports Radio website. And again, I know I talked about this earlier, but please, I got today and about 10 to 12 hours. I think it's about 9 or 10 hours tomorrow to get back to the top spot. I'm currently in second place. Do yourself a favor. If you have a Facebook page, please go to faceofhorror.org/2024/Martin-Sandoval, and please vote for me. If you have some extra shekels in your bank account, shoot over just a minimum $10 donation, and that'll actually give me $10, 10 votes. It's a dollar for every vote or for every donation or whatever. So $10 equals 10 votes, and so on and so forth. So if you have it, I'm not asking, I'm not, telling you need to, because if you go to the website, there's an option for a free vote. If you just click that free vote, that helps me tremendously. Guys, thank you again. And fans of Eddie Guerrero, I hope you enjoyed this episode, because I enjoyed doing it for y'all. Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace. Viva la raza. Thank you, wrestling fans. Take care, guys. We'll see you next week. Same Soul Cal Saint time, same Soul Cal Saint channel.